Hey there, have you ever just stopped and wondered how your mind actually makes sense of reality? I mean, it feels so effortless, right? But it's not just a random flood of information. Your entire experience is built on this deeply organized, totally invisible framework. And today, we're going to dive in and explore exactly what that is. Seriously, just take a second, look around the room. Why isn't everything just a chaotic mess of colors and sounds? How do you see actual distinct objects sitting in a specific space, all happening in a clear sequence of time? The fact that it's all so coherent, that's actually a pretty profound mystery when you think about it. So, the answer to that mystery? Well, it lies in what we can call an invisible scaffolding. It's this hidden structure that your mind is constantly, and I mean constantly, building and maintaining. It's the very thing holding your entire reality together. Okay, so the official term for this scaffolding is phenomenal structure. It's the, quote, densely organized representational framework of all our experiences. But a much better way to think about it is like this. It's the operating system for your consciousness. It's the background program that's taking all the raw data from your senses and turning it into the world you actually experience. So what does this operating system actually organize? Well, pretty much everything. We're talking about the absolute building blocks of your reality. Your sense of time passing, of space around you, cause and effect. Even your sense of having a body, of being a self, living in a world. This structure is what puts it all together. And you know, this is not some brand new idea. The philosopher Immanuel Kant was wrestling with this exact problem all the way back in 1787. He basically argued that consciousness couldn't just be a simple stream of thoughts, one after another. For reality to make any sense at all, the mind had to have this richer, pre-organized structure of space, time, and causality already built in. All right, this brings us to a really crucial distinction. To get what phenomenal structure is all about, we've got to separate it from something else you might have heard of, the raw feels of an experience. Okay, here's the perfect way to see the difference. On one hand, you have what philosophers call qualia. That's just the raw feel of something, like the pure sensation of the color red. But phenomenal structure, that's so much more. It's not just redness. It's seeing a red tomato, which is an object that's located on a table in space in front of you. See what I mean? One is just a raw sensation, the other is a whole organized scene. Let's use an analogy. It's really simple. Qualia, those raw feelings, they're just the dabs of paint on the artist's palette. But phenomenal structure is the entire finished painting. It's got composition, perspective, objects, a story. The structure is what gives all that paint meaning. So that leads to a really interesting question. If this structure is so fundamental, if it's running every single second we're awake, why aren't we constantly aware of it? Why is it so hard to even notice? Well, the reason is that most of this framework is implicit. It's not something we actively think about. It's the background process that makes thinking possible in the first place. You know, you don't see the operating system on your computer, you just see the apps it's running. It's exactly the same thing with your consciousness. And because it's implicit, you can't just look inside your own head and read it off. Studying this stuff is a huge scientific challenge. It takes really rigorous inner observation, a long, careful process of inference, and eventually building these detailed theoretical models just to try and map the invisible architecture of our own minds. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. What's the point? What's the ultimate purpose of this incredibly complex phenomenal structure? What huge job is it doing for us every single second? The answer comes down to one powerful word: integration. The number one job of your consciousness, using this amazing structure, is to integrate enormous amounts of information into a single, unified, coherent whole. Think about it. This structure takes all the fragmented data coming from your eyes, your ears, your memories, your thoughts, and it weaves it all together. It creates the single, unified model of reality that you experience, a world full of stable objects that seem to exist independently of you, all connected by this dense web of relationships. That's what lets you walk around and live your life. And scientists are actively building theories to try and explain how this works. For instance, they're looking at how every single thing we experience is organized from one single point of view, yours. They're even using principles from geometry to map how our brain might construct our unique subjective field of vision, turning all that raw data into the 3D world we see around us. Okay, so let's tie this all together. The crucial point, the main takeaway here is this. Your conscious reality is not just some random stream of feelings. It is a remarkably sophisticated, highly organized, and constantly updating model of the world, all built on that invisible framework of phenomenal structure. And that leaves us with a final, pretty wild question to think about. If what we experience every single day is actually a carefully constructed model built by our own minds, then what parts of actual objective reality might that model be leaving out? What else are we not seeing?